Hi, I'm Roddy Mtz. There's been an increase in cultural awareness lately regarding child celebrities and the dangers of glamorizing children at a very young age. With the recent release of the HBO documentary Quiet on Set, revealing the predatory adults who worked at Nickelodeon and the many stories of young child stars who struggled with transitioning into adulthood, it's become clear that elevating children to celebrity status is not only dangerous, but also unnatural. To put it very simply, children deserve to be brought into an environment where they can learn from a trusted set of adults, also known as parents, who can prioritize their well-being and raise them to eventually become productive and outstanding citizens by the time they reach adulthood. In order to accomplish this goal, it's imperative that parents allow their children to experience a healthy and normal childhood that fosters incremental growth on a personal and social level. It goes without saying that the child star lifestyle will not allow for this. The glamorization of these children and the nonstop attention they're given by paparazzi and social media does not promote personal growth. Rather, it encourages narcissistic proclivities that will ultimately be detrimental to the child as they enter adulthood. The latest example of this was demonstrated this past week by the artist JoJo Siwi. Now, to save time, I won't talk too much about her backstory, though I do encourage you to take a look at her history. But what you should know is that JoJo Siwi began receiving celebrity status even before she became a teenager, around the age of 9 or so. She was eventually hired by Nickelodeon and was largely marketed toward the demographic of young girls. Unfortunately for JoJo, she couldn't remain a teenager forever. Father Time will come for us all, and JoJo recently reached adulthood a couple of years back, which made it a bit awkward for her to maintain the young teenage girl image that her corporate overlords had created for her. So, what did JoJo do? Well, she did what many other child stars have tried to do before her. She tried to rebrand herself from being a teenage pop star to being an adult something. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what she was going for, but you can see it for yourself. Watch.
Hey everyone, a lot of you have been asking for me to do a question and answer. Why do you like wearing bows? Because bows are my life. How many bows do you have? I have 527, exact count.
Karma's out. Go watch it. Links in my bio.
Wow. Is that the same person? She went from being a fairly tolerable teenage girl to some sort of edgy goth straight from the early 2000s. I guess you could say that JoJo lost her mojo. Well, to kickstart this new transformation, JoJo Siwi released a brand new song named Karma. Now, I won't be able to play any parts of her new song because of copyright concerns, but it's probably best that I don't anyway, so that way you don't have to subject yourself to uncomfortable scenes of unpleasant debauchery and sexual depravity. But the actual truth is, there isn't anything in her new music video that is any different than what we've seen before. At this point, we've seen a little bit of everything. We've already seen artists such as Cardi B write songs about sexually stimulated female genitalia, famed rappers boast about murder and rape, and even Lil Nas X giving a lap dance to Satan himself. Indeed, the old biblical adage is true. There is nothing new under the sun. But despite this eternal, unchanging truth, JoJo Siwi still has a desire to do something different. She wants to do something that is going to separate her from all the other music celebrities out there. In fact, she doesn't just want to do something different. She believes that she's already done enough to differentiate herself from everyone else out there. Don't take my word for it. Listen for yourself.
How is this era gonna feel for you to just finally let it go and be who you authentically are?
That's been my most massive inspiration is no one has made this dramatic of a change yet. No one has made, in my generation, this extreme of a switch. And I am the first in the generation. It is very scary, but someone's gotta do it.
You see, JoJo's transformation is special. It's unique. According to her, no one in her generation has ever made this extreme of a switch before. And it's scary, but someone's got to do it. So it might as well be her. I'm assuming this presupposes that we're supposed to commend her for her courage and her ability to overcome her fears. But there will be no applause, at least not from me. And apparently, not from a lot of people. In fact, I think the general reception of JoJo's rebranding has been unfavorable, to say the least. It's obvious to many that there's a lack of authenticity in what she's doing. In an attempt to rebrand herself toward an adult demographic, she's also made a fool of herself. The truth is that JoJo Siwa is actually not rebranding herself into an adult. Instead, she's rebranding herself into a caricature of what she believes an adult is. The problem is that her idea of what an adult is doesn't line up with reality. An adult doesn't look like some edgy teenager who dresses up like Gene Simmons. An adult is not someone who sexually gropes other people and sticks their tongues down their throats. The unfortunate reality is that JoJo Siwa probably has no idea what an adult actually is, or what an adult looks like, or even acts like, because she probably never had enough mature adults in her life who could show her what an adult should be. So instead of seeing JoJo experience a legitimate transformation into an adult that we can maybe all relate to, we get this: a mockery of womanhood, a bunch of weird sex scenes, and just another bad music video. You know, going back to her interview for a moment, there's this weird fascination I've noticed in younger people over the past couple of decades. They have this obsession to accomplish something that nobody has ever done before. It's a desire to be the first and only person to ever attain a certain goal. Now, to be clear, this is not inherently a bad thing. This sort of drive can stimulate your motivation and encourage you to be better and work harder every day. But in the context of music and the arts, it's not always a healthy thing, and it's certainly not conducive to a flourishing culture. When JoJo Siwa demonstrates a clear desire to be the first in her generation to make such a drastic change in her brand and musical performance, we should ask her, why do you feel the need to be historic? Why do you feel the need to be the first to do something? Well, there's a pretty clear correlation between this desire for historic fame and narcissistic proclivities. And this is problematic for artists and our culture, because when the love of oneself and personal accolades is the driving force behind your artistic endeavors, it's no longer art in the best sense of the word. Sure, you may be expressing yourself, but you would be expressing the worst parts of yourself, no longer aiming toward truth and beauty, but rather bringing yourself low amongst the foul and depraved. With all of that being said, I have a pretty unpopular opinion about JoJo's new song, which is this: JoJo's new song, Karma, isn't actually all that bad. I mean, it's still bad, but it's not all that bad. It could be worse. But there have been reports lately that someone else originally wrote that song and JoJo just bought it to perform it as her own. I'm not sure if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. That's a huge problem with the music industry today. This is nothing new. Nobody creates their own art anymore. So if the rumors are true and JoJo didn't write her own song, then that leaves us with a few takeaways from this entire situation. 1. JoJo Siwa didn't write her own music. 2. JoJo Siwa isn't rebranding herself as a real adult. And 3. JoJo Siwa isn't doing anything new. Her rebranding is nothing different than what others have already done, such as Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, and she also isn't creating a new gay pop genre as she's claimed. That hasn't already been seen from singers like Elton John or Freddie Mercury. In my estimation, the truth is this: the number one reason why JoJo's rebranding is not being well received is because people often associate the quality of art to the soul from which it derives. And because people associate a work of art to the artist who created it, or in this case, an artist who is impersonating it, people see JoJo Siwa as someone who is trying too hard to be someone she's not, performing music she probably didn't even write herself, and attempting to do all of this in the hopes of attaining historic firsts and self-glorification. The solution to all of this is simple. The only way that JoJo Siwa will find the fulfillment that she's looking for and the meaning she's so clearly seeking to find is if she stops looking so much at herself and instead starts looking up toward God. In doing so, she may realize that everything she has comes from the Lord, and that being an artist isn't as much about self-expression as it is about growing into the man or woman that God meant for you to be. Let's all hope and pray that JoJo Siwa learns this sooner rather than later.